Welcome to Not Your Mama's Midlife Podcast with Stephanie Lee. On this show, we're going to talk about the experiences of high-achieving women and men across industries and lifestyles who are at about the midpoint in their career and are no longer satisfied to let life happen to them. Together, we're going to purposely create the second half of our lives by addressing burnout and overwork, by getting clarity on how we're creating the experiences of our lives, including how we're keeping ourselves stuck, by articulating what it is we want for the second half of our lives, and identifying a plan to achieve it. Hello, and welcome to Not Your Mama's Midlife Podcast. I'm Stephanie. On today's episode, we're going to talk about summer. So last week here in the US was Memorial Day, which is really sort of the unofficial start of summer. And something that I've done the last few years is actually make a list of the things I want to do over the summer. Now, not your traditional to-do list, but more of a things to savor list. So what I want to talk to you about today is how we can actually intentionally choose to savor our summers. And this is true no matter what line of work you're in or where you live on the globe. This isn't just if you're a teacher and happen to have the months of summer off, but we can savor this season and this time of year. So something that has gotten me thinking about savoring summer is a book that I'm reading. It's called Life in 5 Senses by Gretchen Rubin. And if you're listening to this in real time on June 1st, 2023, I've actually started a book club that begins today. And we're going to be reading this book together and talking about it. In this book, Gretchen explores how to be more present in our lives through using our senses. And so some of the things you're going to hear me talk about today related to summer have to do with tapping into those 5 senses. And it's so interesting because I really didn't realize when I was preparing some notes for this episode and also getting ready for the book club, I didn't realize how they were coming together in my mind, but certainly as I tell you about it, I'm noticing it. So how many times have you been at the end of the summer, maybe it's August or September in your world, and you look around and you think, I don't even know where it went. I don't know what I did. And now it's just over. And you just move on to the fall and to the next thing. I want to help you today come up with some very simple strategies to allow you to savor the summer. And the first thing is just simply to notice. Intend to savor the summer. Make a plan to pay attention to what you do. So many times when we say after a period of time, I don't even know what I did, it's because we were operating on autopilot in some way and we've just let things sort of unintentionally evolve. Maybe we haven't planned our vacations. Maybe things have just been sort of catch as catch can. And there's nothing wrong with spontaneity. But adding some intention in there and then really noticing what you did can bring to mind and allow you to enjoy those experiences, both looking forward to them, the experiences themselves, and then recounting them at the end of the season and thinking about what they meant to you. So that's my first strategy. My second strategy that I would share with you is to identify the dates that you're going to consider your summer. And these can fit you. I tend to go with kind of a wide period of time, like the end of April, maybe to the beginning of September. Certainly, this is going to be way outside the bounds of what the actual season of summer is. But I live in Atlanta and it's warm and I like summer and I want to think about it being longer. I love these long days that we're enjoying. If your kids are in school, you may have some very easy and obvious summer months. Maybe you have a profession where your schedule changes or your organization has a different schedule over the summer months. So again, that kind of puts some bounds around the time that you might identify as your summer. Let's think about the things that you most enjoy about this season. And this is where I told you, I suggest thinking about things maybe through your 5 senses. What do you enjoy seeing? What do you enjoy feeling? What do you enjoy smelling or hearing that you associate with summer? And find some ways to capitalize on those things. So if you enjoy fresh flowers, maybe you decide you're going to bring flowers into the house once a week. You're going to buy some flowers to have in your home. Maybe you enjoy having the doors and the windows open and you live in a climate where that's comfortable this time of year. For me, one of my favorite things about summer is the long days. I love waking up in the morning when it's actually light out and the sun's staying up late into the evening. Now, for us, what that looks like here in the Eastern time zone is about 6:30 in the morning, the sun rises, and about 8:30, the sun's going to set. And I know it varies widely by your geography. But what are ways that I might think about that I can really savor those longer days? I might think about getting up earlier. I talk about getting up early a lot on this podcast, and it's one of those things that I love and that I enjoy, but that continues to be a struggle because sleep is often a struggle for me. But if I think about what I want for the summer, maybe I want to intentionally choose to get up early and enjoy those cool early mornings with a walk or with something else outside. And maybe I want to take the opportunity as well to enjoy the other side of the day, the end of the day, the evenings. I can have a glass of wine out on the patio or a sparkling water or meet my new friend in the building and we can go for a walk in the evenings, be outside, take the dog, whatever that looks like. So, what might that look like to you? Maybe over the summer, your kids or even your grandkids are home. They're more accessible to you. They come visit more often. So, what can you do to schedule in that time? Again, just purposely deciding these are the things I love about these months, either about the season itself or the weather. And I'm going to find ways to put them onto my summer schedule. And so, your summer schedule, this is coming to my next suggestion. And I talked about this at the top of the show. So, when I got started doing this, I was for sure just making a little regimented to do list of the things that I wanted to do over the summer and be sure to tick off my to do list. And I would suggest to you that you not come to this with that kind of, these are the things I need to get done orientation. But you think about this as a list of things you want to do that you can't wait to do for the summer. I don't know about you, but by the time this time of year rolls around, there have been all sorts of things floating around in my head over these last few months where I've thought, you know what, I'll have time for that over the summer. You know what, over the summer, I can record a batch of interviews with people about things that are interesting to folks in midlife, and I can get all of that done. That'll be exciting. That'll be fun. I can think about vacations I want to take. I can think about books I want to read and maybe healthy habits that I want to develop that I don't even have the mental space for when I'm as busy in the spring. So, what are those things? Maybe there's a museum you want to visit. Maybe you want to go pick up your crochet needles. Maybe you want to take your kids to the park. What are the things that you want to do that you've been maybe putting off and have somewhere in your mind, but that aren't likely to come up when you have a few minutes to spare? How many times have you sat on the couch thinking, okay, I've got a couple of hours, I have an hour, I could do something, but I don't know what it is I really want to do. And then you either scroll or you watch TV or someone suggests something and it's good enough. It's fine. It's totally, whatever. But you aren't doing that thing you had actually really wanted to do because you've forgotten about it. It wasn't top of mind. So just simply make note of the thoughts that come through your mind about things you might want to do over the summer and set those aside. Collect them into a list of things that you want to pay attention to over the summer. And the last suggestion that I have for you is to think about how you might. There's something about summer, right? It's warmer, generally speaking. Our schedules feel a little bit looser. What can you do to incorporate that into your day, even if you don't have a profession where things really change materially over the summer? So I work in higher education, and it's not unusual for folks to assume that just because I'm in higher ed, summer is just simply open. And that is not true at all. The business continues 12 months a year. But it's also true that I can hold things a little bit more loosely over the summer. There aren't quite as many meetings, quite as many weeks over the summer as there are in the fall and the spring. I can choose to let my wardrobe be a little more colorful. I think about sort of, colors and loose light fabrics and those types of things that I wouldn't normally wear in the fall and in the spring. Not unprofessional, but just different. That's a little bit special that allows you to enjoy it. And then what might you be able to do with your schedule? Maybe you're in a workplace that has an alternate schedule over the summer. I spoke with someone today whose organization actually shifts their hours. So they're slightly earlier during the summer so they can get out a bit earlier and then gives them a half day off on Friday. Now, not every organization chooses to operate that way, but if yours does, what might you do to capitalize on that? And maybe your organization doesn't change its calendar at all. But what can you do as an individual to give yourself a bit more flexibility within those parameters? All right. So these have just been some ideas for ways that you might savor your summer. I posted on Facebook not too long ago and asked folks what they were most looking forward to savoring. And some of the responses, a lot of the responses actually had to do with getting out on the water and lake time, spending time with family, catching up on hobbies and projects. I'm so interested to know how you want to spend your time over the summer. And I do have a suggestion going back to that book I mentioned. Again, if you're listening in real time, so June 1st, 2023, we're going to start reading Life in 5 Senses by Gretchen Rubin in our book club today. And I would certainly invite you to join us. I'm going to include a link to the Facebook group in the description of this podcast on whatever app you're listening on. So if you want to join us, click that link. I will send you an invite and you'll be in the group and you can go ahead and get started with us. We'd love to have you join us. It's a small group. We're having a good time already in our conversation. Thank you so much for staying with me for another episode of Not Your Mama's Midlife Podcast. I hope you'll join me back here next week on YouTube or your favorite podcast player for my next episode. And if you're enjoying the show, please leave me a rating or review on Apple Podcasts. It really helps others to find the show. It's been great to spend this time with you this week, and I look forward to chatting with you again soon. Bye.